This story didn't begin the way many people assume. Long before the world watched a prince and an actress exchange vows at Windsor Castle, another figure moved quietly through the background. His name wasn't in headlines. His face wasn't on magazine covers. Yet his influence shaped one of the most talked about relationships in modern royal history. Markus Anderson wasn't born into privilege, but he understood how power actually worked. And in the world of elite social circles, that understanding made him invaluable. At that point in time, the situation was already taking shape in ways the public couldn't see. Soho House, the exclusive members-only club empire, had become more than just a collection of luxury spaces. It was a carefully curated ecosystem where celebrities, creatives, and power players intersected. Markus Anderson sat at the center of this world, holding a role that gave him extraordinary influence: global membership curation. His job wasn't simply approving applications. He decided who got access, who received invitations, who became connected to whom. In elite circles, access is currency, and Markus controlled the vault. What many people don't know is what was discussed privately during those years before Meghan Markle became a duchess. According to reports, Markus and Meghan had developed a friendship that stretched back years, rooted in Toronto's Soho House location where Meghan frequently spent time during her Suits filming days. Multiple reports point toward the same conclusion. Their connection went beyond casual acquaintance. They traveled together. Madrid, London, Istanbul. They appeared at events together. They shared a rhythm that those around them noticed immediately. An insider later described the dynamic as effortless yet deliberate. Meghan was navigating a world where the right introduction could change everything. Markus had mastered that world. He knew which rooms mattered, which conversations opened doors, which connections carried weight. Reports suggest he became her quiet strategist, positioning her in spaces where visibility translated to opportunity. Those who witnessed their interactions noted something particular: a private language of glances and subtle gestures that suggested deep familiarity. There was trust there, built over time, refined through shared experiences. When Meghan needed guidance navigating elite social dynamics, sources close to the situation quietly revealed that Markus was often the person she called. The situation escalated faster than expected in the summer of 2016. Soho Farmhouse, a countryside retreat in Oxfordshire, became the alleged setting for a meeting that would change everything. It was there, according to widespread reports, that Meghan Markle was introduced to Prince Harry. The encounter appeared casual: drinks, conversation, laughter. But behind the scenes, every detail had been managed. The guest list, the atmosphere, the timing, nothing was left to chance. Markus Anderson's name repeatedly surfaced in connection with that weekend. Multiple accounts suggest he played a role in facilitating the introduction, though the exact circumstances remain debated. What is documented is that Meghan and Harry's chemistry was immediate and Harry's chemistry was immediate. Within weeks, they were seeing each other regularly, and by October 2016, Kensington Palace officially confirmed their relationship. Many are now questioning how this connection was orchestrated so seamlessly. The timing, the location, the people present, all elements aligned perfectly. Journalists tracking the story began noticing patterns. Soho House kept appearing in the narrative. The royal couple's early dates allegedly took place at Soho House locations. Markus Anderson's presence at key moments in their relationship was noted by observers. The reasoning behind certain decisions remains elusive. Why did Markus maintain such proximity to Meghan even as she entered the most scrutinized relationship in the world? Why did Harry, reportedly at first, not question this dynamic? Those briefed on the matter say the initial atmosphere was friendly, uncomplicated. Harry saw Markus as a trusted friend from Meghan's past, someone who had helped her navigate a difficult industry. But beneath the surface, something more complex was taking root. A triangle was forming, invisible to the public, undeniable to those inside it. This sets the stage for what came next, a fairy tale that the world celebrated, but a dynamic behind closed doors that would prove far more complicated than anyone imagined. Markus Anderson hadn't disappeared after playing matchmaker. He remained present, influential, and deeply embedded in Meghan's world. And as the relationship with Harry intensified, that presence would become impossible to ignore. Observers noted a sharp shift in how Meghan navigated royal protocols. She had a confidence that seemed unusual for someone new to palace life. Some credited her acting background. Others whispered about the advice she was receiving from someone who understood how elite institutions actually functioned. The name that kept surfacing in private conversations? Markus Anderson. But the real story? That's where it gets truly disturbing. Prior events cast a long shadow over what was about to happen. To understand the full scope of Markus Anderson's influence, one must look at how he built his position within Soho House's global empire. He didn't start at the top, he climbed methodically, learning the psychology of elite networking, understanding that true power came not from wealth but from becoming indispensable to those who had it. Accounts from journalists and insiders reveal a consistent pattern. Markus had an extraordinary ability to read people. He could identify who needed validation, who craved access, who possessed real influence versus who merely performed it. This skill made him invaluable to Soho House's expansion. As the brand grew from London to New York, Toronto to Los Angeles, Markus became the human bridge connecting disparate worlds: entertainment, business, royalty, fashion. Reports indicate he developed close associations with numerous high-profile individuals, including Jessica Mulroney, the Canadian stylist who would later become one of Meghan's closest friends. The connections weren't random. They were cultivated, nurtured, strategically maintained. Markus understood something fundamental. In elite circles, your value is measured by who trusts you and who you can connect. What followed was not publicly acknowledged at the time, but Meghan's rise within these circles accelerated dramatically after meeting Markus. Her social media presence became more polished, her event appearances more strategic. The people she was photographed with carried increasing prominence. To outsiders, it appeared organic, a talented actress naturally ascending. To those watching closely, it looked like precision orchestration. Those briefed on the matter say Markus's guidance extended beyond simple introductions. He allegedly advised Meghan on personal branding, on which opportunities to pursue, on how to position herself for maximum visibility. The Toronto Soho House became a second home. She was photographed there repeatedly, always looking effortlessly glamorous, always surrounded by interesting people. The partnership between Meghan and Markus developed into something observers found difficult to categorize. It wasn't romantic in the conventional sense, but it carried an intimacy that went beyond typical friendship. The reasoning behind certain decisions remains elusive. Why did Meghan trust Markus so completely? What made his advice so valuable that she continued seeking it even as her life transformed? Sources suggest the answer lies in his track record. He had never steered her wrong. Every door he opened led somewhere meaningful. Every introduction created opportunity. It picks our exemplary, incredible patience and navigation, and wakes up out of her there exactly and immediately trap out of the person. By the time Prince Harry entered the picture, Markus's influence was already deeply embedded in Meghan's decision-making process. Multiple reports point toward his involvement in shaping how she approached the relationship with Harry. The advice was allegedly subtle but significant. Be authentic but strategic. Be yourself, but understand the game being played. What became clear later was deeply unsettling to those inside the palace. Markus wasn't fading into the background as Meghan's life changed. He remained actively involved, attending events, maintaining regular contact, offering counsel. At the 2017 Invictus Games in Toronto, Meghan's first major public appearance with Harry. Markus Anderson was reportedly present, photographed in the crowd. Eyewitness statements confirmed these unusual occurrences. Palace staff members noticed Meghan would occasionally step away to take calls from someone she referred to simply as a close friend. The calls were frequent, sometimes lasting 30 minutes or more. When Harry asked who she was speaking with, the answer was often the same: Markus. Confidential sources describe a mood of uncertainty within Harry's inner circle. Some friends quietly expressed concern about the amount of influence this outsider seemed to wield. Others dismissed it as insecurity, arguing that Meghan was entitled to maintain friendships from her previous life. But the frequency of contact and the nature of the advice being sought raised questions. A revelation emerged that altered the course of events. Markus Anderson was not just a friend from Meghan's past. He was actively shaping her present. Reports suggest he offered input on everything from how to handle media scrutiny to navigating complex family dynamics within the royal household. His knowledge of elite social politics made him uniquely qualified to advise someone entering one of the world's most rigid institutions. Was this truly a mistake or something more deliberate? Those who know Markus describe him as someone who never does anything without purpose. Every action serves a larger strategy. If he remained so closely involved with Meghan during this critical period, it suggests he saw value in maintaining that position, whether for her benefit, his own, or both. The following actions were shaped by this revelation. Harry, initially welcoming of Markus as part of Meghan's support system, began noticing dynamics he couldn't quite articulate. Around Markus, Meghan seemed different, more relaxed, more herself. She laughed more freely. She spoke with greater confidence. For a man already struggling with his own identity within royal constraints, watching his partner light up in someone else's presence created a quiet, persistent discomfort. Official statements later aligned with what insiders had been saying. The May 2018 royal wedding guest list included Markus Anderson. He sat in a position of prominence watching the ceremony unfold. For those who understood the backstory, his presence was loaded with significance. He had been there at the beginning of Meghan's journey toward this moment. Now he was witnessing its culmination. What they discovered next raised even more questions. Few realized the magnitude of what was about to happen. The royal wedding appeared to the world as a fairy tale conclusion, a modern love story between a prince and an actress. But for those inside the palace walls, it marked the beginning of a far more complicated chapter. The marriage didn't end Markus Anderson's involvement. If anything, it intensified the underlying tension. The circumstances leading up to this are important. After the wedding, Meghan faced unprecedented pressure. Royal protocols, media scrutiny, family dynamics, public expectations. The weight was crushing. She had left behind her career, her country, her independence. In moments of overwhelm, she needed someone who understood both worlds, the elite circles she came from and the royal institution she'd entered. Reports suggest she frequently turned to Markus. Late-night phone calls continued. Text exchanges were constant. According to sources, he became a confidant for frustrations she couldn't voice publicly, and sometimes struggled to articulate even to Harry. The advice he offered allegedly helped her navigate situations where royal protocol felt suffocating. The tension in the room was palpable during private moments when Harry would notice Meghan's phone lighting up with messages, the name appearing on the screen. Markus. The frequency of communication began troubling him. Eyewitness statements confirm these unusual occurrences. At dinners, during private weekends, even during official royal engagements, Meghan would occasionally step away to respond to Markus. Harry reportedly asked directly, "Why is he still so involved?" The question was fair. Markus wasn't family. He wasn't an official advisor. He held no formal role in their lives. Yet his presence lingered constantly, shaping decisions from the shadows. Confidential sources describe Meghan's response as revealing. because he's the only one who's never left. The sentence carried weight far beyond its simple words. It suggested loyalty, yes, but also dependence. And for Harry, it implied that no matter how deeply he loved Meghan, there was someone else who occupied a space in her life he couldn't fully access. A revelation emerged that altered the course of events. Rumors began circulating in media circles about Markus's continued influence. The tabloids started connecting dots. His presence at Invictus, at the wedding, his documented history with Meghan stretching back years. Questions formed. What exactly was the nature of this relationship? Why did it continue with such intensity despite Meghan's marriage? Then came the alleged leak, the quote that detonated everything. According to reports that surfaced, Markus Anderson supposedly made a comment during a private conversation that was overheard and later shared, something to the effect of describing his relationship with Meghan as having always been close, intimate even after Harry. The word intimate sparked immediate firestorm. Media outlets seized it. Social media erupted. Every photograph of Markus and Meghan together was re-examined under this new lens. Body language analyzed, proximity scrutinized, smiles reinterpreted. Would they be next in the world? What if they refused to destroy a woman who challenged royal tradition? Was this truly a mistake or something more deliberate? Those who know how elite circles operate understand that very few leaks are accidental. Information surfaces when someone wants it to. Whether the quote was accurate, exaggerated, or fabricated entirely remains disputed. What matters is the impact it created. Behind the scenes, a shocking truth quietly unfolded. The palace went into crisis mode. Legal teams reviewed NDAs, PR advisors scrambled to contain the narrative, but the viral spread was unstoppable. The quote, real or alleged, had opened a door that couldn't be closed. It forced public acknowledgement of a relationship dynamic most people hadn't considered. Unexpected developments forced immediate, high-stakes decisions. Harry, according to sources, withdrew emotionally. He didn't explode or confront, he went silent. The kind of silence that signals deep internal processing. Days passed where he barely spoke. He replayed memories, Markus's hand on Meghan's shoulder in Toronto, their effortless laughter, the private jokes they shared, the calls she took in another room. Observers are divided on how to interpret these events. Some see Markus as a loyal friend unfairly maligned because of his closeness to Meghan. Others view him as a Svengali-like figure who maintained control over someone he'd helped create. The truth likely exists somewhere between these extremes. A complicated relationship built on genuine care, but also intertwined with influence and dependence. Accounts from insiders show a far more complex situation than seen publicly. Harry reportedly left for a brief private retreat. Some sources mentioned Aspen, though this remains unconfirmed, claiming he needed space to process. The request wasn't framed as crisis, but those close to him understood. He was grappling with the reality that his marriage existed within a triangle he hadn't fully recognized. Understanding this moment is key to what comes next. The alleged leak didn't just create tabloid drama. It exposed fault lines that had existed from the beginning. Markus Anderson's presence in Meghan's life wasn't going to disappear. The question facing Harry was whether he could accept that reality or whether the weight of it would prove too much. But the storm brewing behind closed doors was far worse. To fully grasp the situation, one must consider what came before the headlines, the palace statements, and the carefully managed public image. This wasn't a story that began with a leaked quote or a scandal. It was a story built over years through quiet connections, strategic positioning, and bonds that formed long before the world was paying attention. Markus Anderson had shaped Meghan Markle's trajectory before Prince Harry ever existed in her world. That foundation, once laid, couldn't simply be erased by marriage vows or royal titles. It was embedded in decisions she made, opportunities she seized, and instincts she trusted. Hidden details gradually came to light about how deeply Markus had been involved in key moments. Reports suggest he facilitated introductions that changed Meghan's career. Allegedly, he connected her with Jessica Mulroney, who became instrumental in Meghan's style evolution and social expansion. He reportedly arranged private meetings at Soho House locations where influential figures just happened to be present. Every strategic move in Meghan's rise had Markus's fingerprints on it, even if the public never saw his hand at work. Cross-referencing multiple sources strengthens the credibility of these claims. Journalists who tracked Soho House's role in celebrity networking consistently noted Markus's name. Industry insiders described him as a kingmaker, someone who could open doors that others didn't even know existed. His power wasn't loud or obvious, it was quiet, precise, and devastatingly effective. For Harry, realizing the depth of Markus's influence was a slow, painful process. It wasn't one dramatic revelation, but a series of small realizations that accumulated into undeniable truth. The way Meghan's voice changed when she spoke to Markus, the deference she showed to his opinions, the immediate availability she maintained for his calls, even during royal obligations. The chain of events now spiraled beyond control as public scrutiny intensified. Media outlets ran stories about the Soho House connection, questioning whether Meghan had financial ties to the organization. Royal commentators debated whether Markus's influence represented a security concern. Anonymous sources claimed palace advisors had raised concerns about his access to private information. Harry's memoir, Spare, touches on the complexity of their early relationship, though it carefully avoids naming certain individuals directly. Reading between the lines, the subtext is clear. Harry knew Meghan had important relationships before him, and navigating those existing bonds while building a marriage proved more difficult than either anticipated. Even seasoned insiders admit the truth is murky when it comes to defining what Markus actually meant to Meghan. Friend, mentor, strategist, emotional anchor? The relationship seemed to shift depending on circumstances, serving different needs at different times. That fluidity made it impossible to categorize cleanly, and therefore impossible to address directly. The question that was puzzling to be submitted to help by people who had been globally significant. Their motivations were rarely pure or singular before they be submitted, which, obviously disapproving. What is clear is that the triangle created impossible tensions. Harry wanted to be Meghan's primary support, her protector, her partner in navigating royal life. Meghan needed multiple sources of stability because the pressures she faced were unprecedented. Markus represented continuity, understanding, and connection to her identity before Duchess became her title. None of them spoke publicly about the dynamic, but silence doesn't erase reality. Actions told the story that words wouldn't. Harry's increasing isolation from royal family duties, Meghan's fierce protection of her privacy and her chosen circle, Markus's gradual fade from public appearances but continued presence in private matters. The aftermath of the leaked, quote, forced reckonings that had been avoided for years. Conversations happened behind closed doors that were long overdue. Boundaries were discussed, expectations were clarified. Trust, once fractured, required deliberate rebuilding. The world watched a fairy tale unravel in real time, not with explosive drama, but with quiet, persistent tension that revealed cracks in the foundation. Public reaction was divided. Some sympathized with Meghan, understanding that navigating royal life required support from people who truly knew her. Others criticized her for maintaining such close ties to someone outside her marriage, especially someone who wielded considerable influence. Harry received both sympathy and judgment, with some praising his patience and others questioning why he allowed the dynamic to continue. Archived records and reports from that period show a consistent pattern: increased distance between Harry and Meghan and the rest of the royal family. more time spent away from official duties, and eventually, the decision that shocked the world: stepping back from royal responsibilities. Was Markus's influence a factor in that decision? It's impossible to say definitively, but it's equally impossible to separate his role from the broader context of Meghan feeling unsupported, misunderstood, and under attack. He represented a world where she had agency, where her voice mattered, where she wasn't constantly scrutinized by protocols she didn't create. The legacy of this triangle extends beyond gossip or scandal. It raises fundamental questions about identity, loyalty, and the complexity of human relationships. Can we ever fully separate from people who shaped us before we became who we are now? Should we be expected to? And what happens when the past refuses to stay in the past because it's woven into who we've become? Harry and Meghan's story continues to evolve. Markus Anderson remains less visible publicly, but still connected to the networks that define elite social circles. The royal family maintains its protocols and public image. But underneath all of it, the triangle that formed years ago left marks that time hasn't erased. And the secret they protected? The full truth about Markus's influence, Harry's private struggles, and Meghan's navigation between two worlds remains partially hidden, waiting for someone brave enough to tell it completely.